In spite of all of that, I feel like that I know what needs to happen, and
I thought you wanted to move. I always felt like you are so excited to move and you want to move and start over again and you don't want to do this anymore.
I'm doing that for the sake of leadership. If I don't go optimistically, then
You don't want to move?
If I'm a long time ago, I looked up to the heavens and I said to God, "Have you got my back?" And on my 43rd birthday, he said, "Yep, I do."
We know Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna come from a different family, but you can't tell us change. Yeah, we're making changes. They have to make changes as well.
If Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna don't feel like they're a part of this family, they can choose at a certain age to not be with me anymore. They could choose to live with their biological father. I have a year and a half till Dayton is 13 to cement these families together.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, February 19th, 2024. Today is going to be, this week actually, is going to be a very busy week. And today there will be voiceovers simply because the videos I have coming up are going to have a lot of screenshots and it's all about Robyn Brown. So Robyn Brown's life has been very hidden from cameras and very little is known about her childhood, her upbringing, and really what her life was like prior to joining the Brown family. She's been very closed off about where she grew up, what her life was like. She shares bits and pieces, but a lot of the bits and pieces that she does share, we've learned over the years, haven't always been the most honest or representative of the entire picture. And we haven't had a lot of people that have been able to come forward about her childhood or what she was like as a child, where did she grow up, what was she involved with, where did she live, what was she like as a child, what was her family dynamic like. She speaks a lot about her stepfather, Paul, who is the person that her mother married. And I'll put that in air quotes, after she left her father, Robert. Well, now I've had the opportunity to speak to a person that has known Robyn since Robyn was a child, grew up in Pinesdale with Robyn, and gave a little bit more of an understanding of who Robyn was back years before she was ever on the show. And this series of videos I'm going to be releasing are going to be coming from the perspective of someone that's known Robyn since Robyn was a child, but also is Preston Jessup's cousin. So this is someone that is close to Preston Jessup, Robyn's ex-husband, and can provide a different perspective to their marriage and what happened in the aftermath of that marriage breaking up and the dynamics that have really caused a lot of detrimental breakdowns in the families. So Robyn has not only caused some breakdown in the Brown family, but there's also been a breakdown with the Montana family. And there's been a lot of work by Robyn and Cody to try to conceal it from the kids. But this video is going to be about their move to Las Vegas, because there's been a lot of questions on the show about, did they have to move to Vegas? I mean, really, they weren't going to be prosecuted. There wasn't going to be any charges filed. There was so much discussion about, there were so many polygamists living out in that real world, out publicly in Utah. Then, by 2013, there was another show called My 5 Wives with Brady Williams and his family. And they lived in Utah and they never had to flee the state under fear of prosecution. So it all felt a little bit for television, let's just say like dramatized for television. Well, this family member, who can't say for 100% certainty that Robyn was a factor in this, said based on Robyn's track record of how she's able to manipulate people, they believe that Robyn is the primary reason why the family moved to Las Vegas. And it had to do with Robyn being separated from her family after she moved in with the Browns in LEHI, and how by moving to Vegas, Robyn would be closer to not only her stepfather Paul, but also her mother, her cousins, and her sisters. So Robyn was moving to a place where she had a support system and taking everyone else away from theirs. So let's dive into the topic. Before we do, can you make sure to give this video a thumbs up? Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video.
Mary, who's that?
Daddy.
Who?
Daddy.
In this picture, there are no chess pieces. That was needed. That was absolutely needed for the kids, for me to build this relationship with him. It's really hard for me because I moved my whole entire life. My kids, pulled them out of school, changed jobs, school, life, everything to be here close to the family. But I'm not allowed, or I shouldn't have this time with him.
Everybody's life is being put up in an upheaval with this.
From the beginning of the series, Robyn had walked into this family with what appeared to be a sense of entitlement, maybe a sense of victimhood about every scenario that she faced, whether it be how she described her first marriage, her move from southern Utah to northern Utah, which completely upended her entire life and had her kids moving to a new place and into a new city, to her not being able to blend into the family, to the kids being mean to her kids, there was just a lot of examples of this. And I wanted to find out a little bit more about her background. So this is what her friend and family friend said to me. Her mom catered to her, and she was the victim with her sisters too. And I said, is she Alice's oldest daughter? Yes, she's the oldest, and she felt like everyone picked on her. She was the victim when she did something nasty and no one wanted to play with her or be around her. And I said, she's still like that. And they said, and Alice took her side every time. When I heard she was going to be on reality TV, I knew it was going to be a circus and that she would be the star of the show. We talked a little bit about how Robyn over the years has claimed to be a very good communicator, and she uses the communication, I feel, as a way to get information about the people in her lives and use it to her advantage. And so we sort of expanded on how she did this when she was younger and into her early adulthood before meeting the Browns. And this is what they said. I said, it's like she walks into a situation and pretends to care. She gets info and then she uses it to her advantage. And they said, driving the narrative in her favor, the sweet little innocent. And I said, like people are just a vehicle to get what she wants. And they said, of course, she used her sisters that way too, and her cousins. And I said, what did she do to them? And they said, I knew her cousins well, and they didn't want to hang around her. She got them into trouble all the time, telling on them for things they had done together and acting like she was just there trying to talk them out of whatever they were doing that they shouldn't. If Robyn wasn't trying to frame her siblings or her cousins for doing something bad, she would lead them into doing something naughty and then basically tattle on them. She was a child, and this loved one assumed that she would grow out of that because she was a kid. But another thing that they mentioned that Robyn would do was she was an information gatherer. And they said, the information gatherer, and she'll save it to use up against them later. And I said, yes. And they said, even if it's a little twisted when she relates it later. And I said, she would always accuse Christine of bullying her because Christine was secure in her opinion or position and didn't put up with crap. The thing about being a plural wife is if you're diminutive, you're going to get run over. It's crabs in a bucket. And if one wife, especially the favorite, goes crying to their husband and says, oh, so-and-so was mean to me because she seems secure, and then the husband can then go and put her in her place so that she's not so secure anymore. I've seen Cody do that more than once. And I said, on the show or in real life? And they said, on the show. Other men in real life, my former family as an example. It's all just mind games. Everyone is playing mind games. Anytime I was self-assured, confident, or strong, I paid for it. It's not a healthy way to live. So a part of being in a plural family is that a man is not supposed to be, no wife is supposed to be over the man, and the man is supposed to be the leader. That's how this model is supposed to work. And so if one woman asserts more authority over another woman, it creates problems. And so a wife can go crying to a husband, and then the husband will go and put the other wife in the place, and so that they can bring it back to neutral so that the wife isn't the one in control. And Robyn was doing that constantly with Christine and constantly with her sister wives, complaining about being hurt by them, making herself the victim so that they couldn't have any power over her. It's like eat or be eaten. And they went on to say, Cody really is showing a real life example of how most polygamous families operate. Any plural family would fall apart under the scrutiny he has placed on his family. I said, I figured it seemed like the family dynamic changed when Mary was removed as first wife. They said yes, because no polygamous family can survive when one of the wives is calling all of the shots. That's why they want it to be a patriarchy, because ideally he would make the decisions that are neutral and beneficial to the whole, not just one favorite. If Cody had done that, they might have survived it. And I said, Robyn got her way all the time. My favorite was when she pretended on the show that she didn't want Cody to buy the house for her. And they said, but he has a ring in his nose and Robyn has the rope. Basically implying that Robyn is the one calling the shots behind the scenes, manipulating it through her complaints to Cody about the other wives being mean to her. And they said, right, or that they didn't move to Vegas to be closer to her mom or to Flagstaff to be closer to her kids. She dragged the whole family around for her wants. And I said, is that why they moved to Vegas? And then he framed it in a way that sounded good to everyone. On the show, she said, I just want to plant my roots. And they said, we're going to be arrested. Let's move to Vegas. So what this family member is basically saying is that Robyn was guiding Cody's decisions, but doing so in a way where he would present the idea, her idea, as his idea to the family. And this is something the kids talked about, was how she would manipulate him, and then he would say that they weren't his rules, they weren't her rules, they were his rules. Like, he was always saying that it was him doing things, not her, and saying that he's the one in control, not her. But the kids believed that it was really her calling these shots. So when it comes to Vegas, he tells them they are all under arrest or they're under investigation, and that's why they have to move. Now, before I even go into what their response is, in 2011, when an investigation was announced, their attorney actually released a statement and said that they were moving for job opportunities, which had absolutely nothing to do with them going because of an investigation. This is from a newspaper, and it says, in an email to the Associated Press, the Washington-based attorney who represents the family, Jonathan Turley, said Cody Brown has moved his family and 4 wives and 16 kids to Nevada to pursue new opportunities. The family is featured on TLC's reality show Sister Wives, and the show first aired in the fall and triggered an investigation by LEHI police into allegations of bigamy. There are no pending charges against them in Utah. I see no legal reason why their family cannot live and continue to thrive in Nevada as they have in Utah. Turley did not say why or where in Nevada the family had moved. And so this was released by the attorney on January 19th, 2011. They say they're moving to Vegas for new opportunities, for new job opportunities. And they say no charges are against them. On the show, they're making it as, we're moving to Utah, we're moving to Vegas because we're under investigation. And Cody might have been telling the wives that that's why they were moving, and the wives might have believed that's why they were moving. But the family member doesn't believe that that's why they're moving, and the evidence from the attorney from that time proves that that's not why they moved. And the family member says that Robyn had motivation to move to Vegas for a variety of reasons. And after complaining in season 1 about having to upend her entire life and not being able to blend well into the family, within months, they're moving to Las Vegas. This is what the family member said. It makes sense. Her mom was 2 hours away and her dad lived there, her stepdad. She had her support system close by and everyone else was moving farther away from theirs. And I said, is that why one of her sisters was able to move in to help? And they said, I think Mindy liked the idea of being on TV, 15 minutes of fame, and her grandma and grandpa were there, who loved and spoiled her. And I said, then why did she need a nanny? She didn't work other than the time she showed up to film. They said, I have no idea, because it made her feel and look prosperous. They went on to say, she was, I suspect, trying to impress Lisa, Mindy's mom, who was the daughter of the first wife. Paul's first wife, so her stepfather's first wife. It may have been a ploy to get Lisa's approval. And I said, their move to Vegas never made sense to me. I mean, they had to move all of a sudden. Impress Lisa with what? Having a nanny? And they said, no, employing her daughter, making her one of the family, the famous family. And I said, did Lisa not like her? And they said, Lisa was superior to her, the oldest daughter of the first wife. She wanted Lisa to like her. And I said, Robyn was always complaining in LEHI how she didn't feel connected to the family, and then they moved to Vegas where she has a support system. And they said, it makes sense to me that they moved because that's what she wanted. And then I said, they want to start a business. Everyone has to bend to Robyn wanting to make ugly jewelry. And they said, of course, Cody didn't present it like that to the rest of the family. That would have been suicide. I wonder if she would guilt him and cry about being so alone. And they said, I'm sure of it. So Robyn has a complicated family dynamic because her mom was a first wife with her biological father, Robert, which in another video, I'm going to give you more information about Robert. That's a whole other mess. But when she took on the position of second wife to Paul, they did not have, in the first marriage, Robyn was the oldest. So she was the top dog. She was the kid that she was the kid that laid the golden egg, basically. And when she ended up with being the second wife, not only did her mom lose her spot as top wife, but Robyn lost her spot as top child. And Lisa was superior to her as Paul's first daughter. And this family member says Robyn always was seeking Lisa's approval, which is why they think Robyn made the decision to hire Mindy. Once they get into Vegas, and this family member believes that the reason they're moving to Vegas is because Robyn's going to have a family system there. Robyn was very upset with the way that she was treated once she moved to LEHI. She felt like everyone needed to change for her. No one understood how hard it was for her to assimilate. And it almost feels like when you look back at now, when you understand it from this perspective, that this could have been a retaliatory move of, well, if you're not going to accept me, I'm going to convince Cody that we need to pull everyone and go to Vegas, and then you'll understand how it feels. Robyn spent a lot of her life feeling deeply insecure because of the way that she grew up in her family, the lack of resources and money that they had because her mom was very poor. The family member said she didn't want to be impoverished like her mom. I said, was Alice poor? And they said, Robert kept a very tight rein on any money Alice brought in. He didn't work. So she grows up very poor, and she has a father that isn't working. Her mom is the only breadwinner for them. And then she ends up moving from a family in Pinesdale where they're very poor to her mom becoming a second wife, never living with her stepfather, only visiting whenever he was in town to see Alice and the kids. And she was doing everything in her power to not replicate what her mom went through so that she could be not impoverished, so she could have money, so she could look and feel like she had something. But a lot of it stems from, this family member says, from the insecurity that she had with growing up as a child. Despite what they've said on the show and how they've tried to frame legal marriages, this person says that legal marriages do matter because they don't have to hide those marriages. And even though the Brown family was out publicly, it's so deeply embedded in the society that you hide the other marriages, that you try not to draw too much attention to your lifestyle, that it's not uncommon for, even when they're public, to still only go out with the public legal wife. And Robyn didn't want to be hidden the way her mom was. She didn't want to have to live a secret life anymore. She didn't want to feel picked on. And I mentioned to the family member that Robyn would say now that because they are leaving her and leaving the family, they've stolen her dream. And the family member said, what dream? The virgin bride, first wife, queen of the family with 4 sister wives at her bidding. She got most of that. And I said, so when a wife is queen, do the other wives have to obey her? Is that what she thought was supposed to happen? They said, no, not necessarily. It's just the first wife favorite syndrome. And I said, what is favorite syndrome? And they said she probably thought she'd have a lot more say in how the family dynamic ran of she was the first wife. The first wife is generally the favorite wife. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Well, legal wife has way more power than anyone else. Once they get to Las Vegas, a lot of things with the family begin to change. The wives are further away from their support system, and Robyn has a full support system there. She's got family and friends that live within hours of where they live. Meanwhile, the other wives, their friends and family are 6 hours away. Robyn is thriving. She gets the sister wives closet. She gets the favorites. She gets all of the time, the resources. She's the one that gets the first house when they find homes for them to move into when they first moved to Vegas. Because Robyn grew up as the top child for 10 years, it was like she has spent the better part of her adult life trying to get back to that position of being the best. And because she lost her father, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, he turns out wasn't a very good guy. We will discuss that in a later video. But her life became one of deep insecurity because they have to go into hiding because her stepfather, while he has converted as a fundamentalist, is living a double life. And he has one family in Las Vegas and one family in St. George, and he never claims her as a child. And so she doesn't grow up feeling seen, validated, or accepted by her father. And she also grew up in Pinesdale, which is very driven by fear and paranoia about the end of the world. They're afraid of people. They're afraid of the world. So there's a lot of things driving her choices here. And her choices and her fear and her paranoia work to the detriment of the family, according to the family members. So they said, Robyn seems very insecure. I said insecure, jealous, depressed, maybe narcissistic, histrionic, or just untreated bipolar. And that was just my assumption. And they said she makes a lot of decisions and manipulates out of fear. And I said, she's so paranoid too. Yes. And I said, fear of what? And they said, going through what her mom went through, being like other plural wives, being neglected, second rate. She overcompensates so that she is at the top. Her legally marrying Cody was a coup for her. That, and psychologically, I don't care what they say, a legal marriage means something. You're no longer a secret. And I said, that's interesting. Someone from Flagstaff said Cody only ever went to events with Robyn, never the other wives for the kids. And they said it could be preferential, and I think it is, but also because too much exposure with other women or kids means you're not a secret anymore. And I said, but he's on a show being public. And they said it makes more sense to say, yeah, I got a divorce and got remarried, and then to say, yeah, she's my wife too. It's embedded. So for Robyn, becoming legal wife really was her coup to take over the family so that she could have the rights to make decisions for the family. Because even though they say that it doesn't matter if you're a legal or a plural wife, you're still treated the same. Legally, that's just false. And Robyn then gains the access to the finances, the property. She gains access to any retirement, pension. She also gains access to being a party to the payment contracts. If they're paying Cody, she's the one also being paid. And on top of that, she's the one that is his legal representative if something were to happen to him. So if he ends up getting sick and needs someone to be his power of attorney and make decisions for him, she's the one that's going to make those decisions, not the other women. And she tried to usurp the hierarchy of Mary and Christine, or Janelle and then Christine and then her, so that she could be the top. motivated by this, what this family member says is the fear of being neglected and not having her needs met. And also wanting to overcompensate and be the best, driven by almost this image of, I'm prosperous, I'm this good person, I'm famous, I have all these benevolent things that I'm doing. She has she's almost in a way has a little bit of narcissism in that she is very concerned about her image, but it's very much rooted in deep insecurity. One of the things that this family member said over and over and over again is that for years, Robyn's goal, not only with the Brown family, but also with her ex-husband and the Pinesdale family, is her wanting to control the narrative about things that have happened in her life to cover up for things that she's done that might not be kind, where she might be trying to present herself as a victim when she's not. And overwhelmingly, this narrative of her playing victim and using that to get what she wants has been a strategy that she's used her whole life. So if she knows it works, she's just going to stick to what works. And that's why the kids say that she's always playing the victim, and they're not going to let her play that game with them anymore. Remember when Garrison said she's always playing the victim and I'm removing myself so that now that she doesn't have anyone she can't be the victim of us anymore. She doesn't know what to do. This has been a pattern in her life, and we're going to talk about that in another video coming up later this afternoon. And we're going to talk about Robyn's relationship with her ex-husband and concerns the family has about Cody's relationship with her kids, because Robyn's children are actually what are considered blue blood. They're the right blood for the polygamy community. They're Rulon Allred's great grandchildren. Her ex-husband, Preston, is the grandson of the prophet, Rulon, the martyred prophet, the one that was killed. And because he died young, or youngish, not naturally, they martyr him as sort of this prophet of the all-knowing, and he was the first leader of their group. And Cody is obsessed with having ties to that blue blood. And there's a lot of competition with men in this group that they can usurp the blue blood and become powerful. And so Cody looked at Christine as a way to usurp that by getting blue blood, by being able to marry Christine. But he also was able to get Robyn's kids, who are blue blood, which are where he focuses the most of his time now today. So we're going to talk about that in the next video. But this video was Robyn's paranoia, playing the victim, and needing to get what she wants is really what ends up fracturing the family and is primarily the reason they end up moving to Vegas. It's not because they're under investigation. It's because Robyn wanted to get back to where her family was and have the support that she felt that she needed, because Robyn seems to have an air of entitlement. And if she gets stung by someone, it's almost like she reacts by seeking revenge. And then her final revenge was getting Cody to divorce Mary, and so that she could become top wife. And then she let that top wife get to her head, and it ultimately destroys the family. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about this video. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure before you go to hit that like button, the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Bye guys.